Hello, Adel the World Show. Premilia Parham here, and we are bringing you this wonderful LinkedIn Live Heal the World show being sponsored by the Healing Institute. And I am the founder and principal of the Healing Institute. And the Healing Institute is a virtual global hub of holistic practitioners. And we are out to heal the world. This is so important. We need to give people hope. This month, as we know, is Mental Health Month, and that's why we have our guest today, because she's a connector with mental health. And we just need to give people hope and let them know ways to be well and stay well while they're on their health journey. Now, I've been using alternative ways of being well for over 20 years, both in my practice and also myself personally. And so I do know that it is possible to use alternate ways of being well and different methodologies that really help people stay well. So why is this important to me? Well, I do have a bit of a tragic story, which I usually share on here. And it is about the fact that my mother died at a very young age. She was only 61. And not only was it tragic that she died at such a young age, but she also didn't get to meet my children. I was actually 5 months pregnant with my son when she passed away. Now, due to some complications that she had been on a medication for a very long time, and it affected her kidneys. So it was complications because of this medication and kidneys that were deteriorating as to why she passed away. And it was right at Christmas time. So that was a double tragedy for all of us. And I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. I want people to get the education and understand about all the different ways of being well and how to stay well, and certainly how to keep our mental health well. So I want to introduce to you, I'm very excited about this today, Bethan Thompson, all the way from Wales, which is really very cool, the way we can do this virtually and globally. And so Bethan, welcome. Bethan is a spiritual, heart-centered speaker. She's a coach, she's an author, and she has turned her own darkness into light. So she understands now, and she teaches people how to use faith, life experiences and strategies and tools so that we can come from the darkness into the light. And today our topic is on how sleep impacts your mental health. So the month of October on our LinkedIn Live Heal the World show, our topic is about sleeping issues, insomnia. And so this is going to be a really good interview with Bethan to talk about, yes, exactly, how does sleep impact your mental health? Welcome, Bethan. Let us know a little bit about you if I've missed something.
No. Thanks so much for asking me to come. We met a while ago and I was super excited to be here and talk to your listeners today and to give them some golden nuggets and a little bit about me and how they can work with me. A little bit of background. I had a life before, but I was a former caregiver and my late mum sadly had cancer. So we got through that, going through chemo and everything else. And obviously she was going through sleeping issues then. And so I was having to look after my own sleeping and hers. And then my mum had cancer and dementia together very quickly. And the cancer escalated the dementia. So consequently, that made that when it was like tea time, because it is tea time now, it's sundowning for people. Many people that suffer from dementia will know that I was closing my curtains at 3:00 in the afternoon and I was sleeping at various times. And I did go through 40 days and 40 nights without sleep when she came home from hospital. And And people will say, that's, really? Yes, I did not sleep. And I kept going and kept going and kept going. But there is strategies and resources that I can tell people of how I coped to go from that dark time to get to where I am today, to sit here to tell people that they can go and shine to the light as well. And that's what I teach people and talk to people, how my faith helped me, how it's important to look after our sleep, and
Absolutely.
the things that we can do now ourselves, from looking at the things that we can do to create that environment to sleep.
So you've personally experienced the lack of sleep and how that could affect your mental health with caring for your mom. So we want to just have a quick hello. There's some people that have joined us. So we want to say hello to Marie Piplovic. Thank you, Marie. She's one of the practitioners we have on the Healing Institute. Cindy DeJogger, thank you, Cindy, for joining us. She actually lives Hoover Island, where I live. So it's good to see you. Ingrid.
Lovely. Welcome, listeners. So great to see you.
Ingrid McKnight, good morning. Thank you. Ingrid's my virtual assistant, or I should say ours, because the Healing Institute, she works for all of us, she's amazing. Dr. Madlena, she is all the way from Germany, so thank you very much for attending, Dr. Madlena. Marie says that she loves that about golden nuggets, and Dr. Madlena says, great topic, how sleep issues impact your mental health. And I think Marie is referring to you. She's Beth, and she says, wow, that was willpower when you were caring for your mom. So also that caregivers are probably very familiar with lack of sleep. And as you have beside your name, a warrior, so you are a true warrior. So can you tell us a little bit about the tips that you give your clients and how they benefit from just one or two samples of your clients and how they benefit from working with you with any kind of issues that they have?
Yes, I mean, each of us is unique, and there is like lots of people as we age. And the way that I look at it, I was a child that didn't need a lot of sleep. So for me, like I said, I was caregiving, and I also have a head injury. So my frequencies go from like burnt out to having, a normal things. So for me, that is different, because I would read a lot. I would go in bed and rest. So my mum's midwife, I was thinking about this before we came on, would say to my mum, put the radio on, put the music on. And even now that I'm nearly 60, I can actually listen to something and go to sleep. And that's unique for everyone. So it's recognizing your triggers and what your brain can deal with, even going back to your childhood. So one of the things that I think is really good is that I write in the night. I mentioned this before we came on the call, is that I do journaling, and I've done it for a long time. But when my mum died, I went to Cruise Counselling, which is, here in UK for people who are suffering with grief. And I was not sleeping well after for quite some time, even worse, because I was still dealing with a head injury and I'd lost my speech. And they said, go home and buy a notebook, an A4 book, and write to your mum as if she's here.
Mm-hmm.
So I started
so many people do use journaling. And I think that's a great idea. And I love your example of you weren't sleeping. It was the middle of the night. So you got up and journaled. I think oftentimes, I certainly myself, I think, oh, just lay there because you'll fall asleep soon. So I don't do anything productive. But I think that's a really great technique tip to suggest that, well, yeah, if you're not sleeping, you might as well get up or, journal, talk or think whatever you're thinking, because usually we're not sleeping because our mind's going, well, a minute.
Your mind is so going. But one of the other things that I've done a lot of research is about sensory. As we get older, and we just had COVID and it's still going on, is a lot of people having skin conditions and finding we are going into the winter for us. And that's so one of the things that is important to have the right bedding, because you can be hot, you know, there's a lot of women that are suffering from menopause, after the menopause, and that, and their temperature ranges, and men as well, and having the right bedding. So I actually spent a lot of time in the beginning looking at, you know, like what we can have in our bedroom. It's like, you know, to have the right lighting, you know, is it good on your skin? Is you warm? You know, have you got a neon pod? And start investing in small little things. So I bought a little neon like this to have in the to have downstairs or upstairs. And at the beginning, when I didn't have a lot of money, I bought air freshener, lavender or like forest thing, and then every night I would go to bed, I would spray this lavender and that, because it's calming.
Very
Because
calming.
like
Yes.
you can buy the oils and everything, so that's another
You can do
golden nugget.
diffusing. Yeah, I've heard of that. And also, you know, I've done a lot of reading myself about making your bedroom. These are great examples. Making your bedroom calm. Well,
Exactly.
I don't
Really
take any of my electronic devices in my bedroom. I know a lot of people sleep beside their cell phone. I don't. Mine is in another room, and I make sure that there's not a lot of that blue light. I don't have a computer in my bedroom. So I've consciously made sure that my sleeping atmosphere is as conducive to sleep as possible.
The other thing I think is important, we can all, because we're all conscious of money and everything, is that when I didn't have a hot chocolate velvetizer, which you can make hot drinks, and you know, you can make it even with powdered milk, is that you have your hot drinks. My mum always had Horlicks, and I used to say, oh God, if I run out, you know, and that, and I've still got the last empty jar of Ovaltine, because she would have her Horlicks every night, and she would have her like Ovaltine, and even when she was in hospital. And that's something else, is that when your relatives they may be in a care home, they may be having problems when they're sleeping and that. Think about things that you can take into them. You know, in our supermarket, we've got like pillows that you could, lavender pillows that I found. And I did a video a while ago where I went around a supermarket looking for little things like, you know, blankets and things. You can buy them off Amazon, buy them off QVC, but sensory things, because
Yes.
warmth is important for us. Because if your feet, people with diabetes, I have a personal friend who's diabetes, who has to have socks all year round, even when she's away in a hot country.
And I've forgotten about the Ovaltine. My grandmother always had Ovaltine before she went to bed. That's a really, yeah. So having that hot drink.
Hot drink, even in a saucepan, you know, there's plenty of fancy gadgets. I have a velvetizer now, which I bought a while ago. And, you know, sometimes you can't afford the chocolate, but you can still make that drink. You know, we're all trying to think about energy and that, but it's important to think of the things that will help us.
Exactly.
And
that calms everybody, calms your sympathetic nervous system down so they could get ready to actually go to sleep. So we've got comments. Dr. Madalena said she likes your technique, Bethan. And
yeah, I love Dr. Madalena. Hi, lovely to see you here.
And she agrees that the right bedding is essential. Now, Marie says she's a fan of hot water and lemon. So I think it's hot water. I think it's hot. It's the heat, right? That's important.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's important to be in that environment. But the other thing I found with our frequencies in our brain, especially having a brain injury, is that sometimes you don't want that noise. That's why a lot of people read. You know, I like to read, you know, some people read off the Kindle and that. I don't do that. I might read a book and that, because that calms. And I used to do it when I was a child, and I've done it for a very long time. even when my mum was in the hospital, I used to go and sit in the garden to keep that stress levels down and keep my mental health, because it's stressful when someone is in hospital and you're going
Absolutely.
back and forth. You know, you've got somebody unwell, people are, you know, having COVID, they're going through grief, they're going through so much. And I think for ourselves, even when we're working from home, I am looking to organise audio rooms, but also finding someone that would almost do like risk assessments for people.
Yes.
That, like, so on the checklist, which we're going to talk about
Right.
at the end, like, what are you putting in place for your breaks?
Let's talk about that checklist. Just one more comment from Ingrid. She's saying that her grandma also loved Ovaltine. So I'm just going to write, I'm just going
I might
to,
be old fashioned, but
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
you know, you can do it in a
We,
saucepan.
we do have, I'm just going to show this little ticker tape so people can see it. Yes. So let's talk about your mental health checklist. I think this is a really good time to do this. So
Yeah.
if anybody's listening now or watching the replay later, and you want to connect with Beth about this mental health checklist, you want to send it to, you want to ask her, here's her email. And so we've got this. We'll just let the little ticker tape run so people can get your email down. And we'll also put this in the notes, and we'll respond to everybody and their comments and send that to them. So yeah, let's talk about that mental health checklist.
Yeah, I've made this small PDF mental health list to ask a couple of questions of like what routines do people do when they go into bed, and how that they recognize their triggers, because there's so many triggers that we can be out in the day. It might be that you're in a supermarket and you hear somebody say something that your loved one is like, and that can bring emotions, and that can stop you sleeping in the night because it still plays on your mind, and it could be playing on your mind for a number of times. Are they listening to certain music? Because certain music has calming, and also about faith. I mean, I've brought my faith into recognizing my triggers, and I actually know what hymns are great for me to listen to, and what tone of voices, even when you listen to podcasts. Because a lot of people, like, when it's like being in church, or like going to like we used to go to the library, and you'd go to the library and you'd find the car Saturday afternoon, you'd go to the library, it was lovely and calm, you'd pick up the books, you'd smell that paper, and you came home, you'd have your tea, have your bath, and you relax in a bath, and you eventually get ready for school or work the next day. And you almost want to create that same environment now, which I don't think people are doing as much because they're so busy with technology and the time zones now, especially working at home. It's really important to have those times to how you can get that self-care time. And if it's,
yes.
you know, if it's important in a day, you have a rest, you put your feet up for half an hour, you know, you take that time to take your headphones off and, you know, your emails away for that half an hour. And I put hymns on in between my meetings when I'm anxious.
Yeah, I make sure also that I schedule a lunch break, and you know, because I like to eat, I like to eat lunch, and then also I add another half hour. Yeah, I add another half hour just to have that. Sometimes it gets filled up, but in there so that I have that buffer, so that I can have that little bit of a break. So you mentioned about self-care, and that's so important. Very important.
So important. And I didn't always get that chance to have that self-care, but I went on a course, because when I got into crisis, they sent me on this like 6 weeks course, which I've adapted now into the checklist, so that people and into my program, so that people, they want to work with me, to whether it's to deal with their mental health, and because there's various mental health, or whether they want to go into it deeper because it's a grief, which is a bit longer. So 4 to 6 weeks to see how I can help them address the triggers, so they almost know the patterns, because it's like the patterns of your brain. And the similar with cognitive behavior when you're caring for somebody with dementia. I saw how my mum's mind was changing, but so was mine. And if you think that I've been a carer for like 20 odd years. You know, I started part-time, I went full-time, and now I'm in the world. And obviously all my emotions came out. So I'm not surprised I wasn't like sleeping, because I had child abuse. And a lot of people hold those emotions in their bodies until
You are so right.
until
Yes,
they
definitely.
actually and it could be years and years.
Well, and the work that I do with the oftentimes people don't know that it's in the subconscious, and that's where it's that's, I call it running, it's still running the show. You're not consciously aware of the emotions that you have accumulated over your life. And especially if there's been abuse and neglect as a child, they're still there. They're still there. We need to identify what they are so that we can consciously recognize it, and then use the techniques that you're talking about to actually put the patterns, as you mentioned, in place, so you know what the triggers are, and then you know what to do to counterbalance whatever those triggers are. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I can see in the chat that somebody said, would you mention a couple of the items on the checklist?
Yes,
just for
please.
example, one of the things I think is a good starting place, or what I started to do, which is a great thing to give an example, is to draw a mind map. And I draw a mind map with you, and you see the triggers. So when you go to your Zooms, for example, because lots of people are on Zooms, there's often somebody that you like and never, that they'll say something and that really irritate you, and then you'll put that down. And then it might be a relative, that will do something, and you'll think, you might be in a supermarket, and those things, you'll sort of pass it off, but they stay in our minds and that. And we're also thinking about, have you done a budget for your money? There's a lot of people out there at the moment who are like thinking about food. Christmas is coming. How are we going to get food for our children and put presents on their on the table for them? And they've only got so much money because of like everywhere the money's going up, energy is going up. There's only so much money. So are you doing that regularly? So I'm like, go through all those things. You do a mind map and you literally go through everything, so that lessens the anxiety, it lessens your stress, and you find those patterns and think, right, even if you do 2 little things a week, eventually the stress is going to come down. You're going to go to sleep. I don't say that you're going to be totally cured, but you're going to feel that calmness. I mean, when you lose your mother or your father or your child and that, it's always going to be there. I miss my mum even this morning, but
Yes.
You learn to live with it and recognize those triggers, so that each time you can think, right, what am I going to do next time to get there?
So if I just want to be clear about this. When you have that trigger, wherever you might be, you might not be at home. So have a little notebook that you can make a note of what it was that happened. Oh, on your phone as well. Yeah, for sure.
You can have your phones now, and like a lot of them have gotten notes in. I heard someone say the other day that they were, like somewhere in a car or stopped or whatever on a run or a walk. Walking is great to be out in the fresh air, even if you go and sit outside for 5 minutes, like out there, that's important. And sometimes even if you have your back door open, when you can't sleep, you can open your back door or your windows to get that fresh air to calm yourself down.
And so then by capturing that information at that time, that's how you're making the mind map. So understanding, so not just having that thought. Let's say I'm going to use your example of being on Zoom, because this has happened to me a couple of times, where I was in this networking platform and this woman just really irritated me, and I was like, oh, okay, well, and I didn't really deal with it. So I just recognized that she irritated me by what she was saying, because it was almost very conventional, not, most, I don't, this was an example that doesn't very often doesn't happen, because, in the networking platforms I'm on, everybody's very friendly, but this particular one. And so I just kind of ignored it, which is not a good thing, because see, I'm still talking about it. So it kept, it's come up a few times where I was like, why did she act like that? That was just really very.
And that's it. Yeah. Because you can't things, and you need to things right. When you see them next time, how are you going to deal with it? And we've all been that, whether it's on the phone, it's, that's the same thing. There's people that you go on the phone and you'll think, I don't like them. When I was talking to people and I'm trying to do things and that, we've all done it, but how are we going to react to that? And people think that, when I was losing my speech, I used to say to people, go in a Zoom, like, I can't talk. And they would go, put your camera on. And sometimes you don't want to be on camera because it can be very confrontational when you're in that emotional state. But it's like, you must be on camera as a speaker and that. And yet it's not necessarily the right way for some people, because they need to have that time, the moment, if they're in that thing. So they think that when they go and see that person next time, they can think, right, she's annoyed me. Either, if you can't tell them or convey it to them and say, I was offended by what you said, how are you going to deal with it? And I think and that's how I approached when I was caring for my mum, as her personality was changing, because she was becoming aggressive to me. She was throwing cups of tea over me, and my neighbours did not understand and started attacking me verbally and physically after she died, because they did not understand that her mind was changing.
Yes. And you were trying to still care for her in a loving way, and not.
She would sleep. So she would sleep and not be shouting in the middle of the night, because she would be shouting at 3 o'clock in the morning, wanted to get up in the night, because in her mind, in sundowning, they don't understand whether it's day or night. They have no time. So I was eating at like 3 o'clock in the morning, crackers and cheese, people. And that, just imagine, crackers and cheese. So everyone says, don't go to bed and like eat the things. But when you're caring for somebody who has an illness, a terminal illness and that, you have to adjust your sleeping. And now I have to adjust my sleeping to get back to almost like a normal, the world sleeps. I write about it.
So Marie's got some good, she's saying thinking. So this is, she's kind of put it very concisely. So thinking, noticing, acknowledging the triggers, writing it down, that actually helps to reduce the power of that trigger to keep you from sleeping. That's her, she's asking.
Yay!
She's got it. I think, yes, she's got it. Absolutely. Well, we're getting to the bottom of the hour. This has been a delightful chat with you, Bethan. I'm so glad that we were able to do this. And we will be going through the chat afterwards and making comments, and any questions that come up, we'll be answering those for you. So, we have a big ask. We are asking to heal the world. The practitioners that are on the website and the Healing Institute Hub are available. People like Beth Ann are available to help you heal. So reach out to us. This is definitely something that we want to acknowledge, that we are available for you. And we want to help you. We want to help you on your healing journey. I have a mission. It's to create a community of expert health practitioners. And we want to all of our health practitioners, actually, you just talked about it today. They customize their unique treatments for you as the client. So if you're listening to this, or if you're a practitioner, or if you know of someone, please send them to the Institute and let them know. Or you can also let them know what our email addresses are. We'll send that to you as well. And yes, we definitely want to create the community of healing so that you can be well and stay well on your health journey. And you got to meet another amazing practitioner today, Beth Ann Thompson. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm now calling it a podcast, the Heal the World LinkedIn Live podcast.
It was great. And one thing I would like to say to people is that you are not alone, to think about the natural things that you can do, the simple things like taking the book out, to listening to quiet music, whatever it is. I love classical music, I love hymns, your prayers, whatever your faith is. But instead of like taking the medications, because we can all take the medications, but that can prove, like for me, it was never going to be to take the things. I wanted to do things naturally, and I think it helps people far more. That if you can reduce that anxiety and the stress for your mental state, then you're going to sleep better. And if you sleep on the settee and you fall asleep on the settee on the day, well, that's fine, ladies and gents, because that is okay as long as you are getting the rest. And that's the most important.
And Beth Ann's we're going to share her mental health checklist. So reach out to her and also share it with people that you know that are telling you that they're having difficulty sleeping. So thank you, everybody who joined us today. We're so grateful to have you here, and we'll be back next week. And we're still talking this month all about sleep issues, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
Bye-bye.